So, just like his story, you guys seem to LARP to this guy named Zack the Films. And what is this? Can you turn a baby into? Oh my goodness. So let's do it, I guess. Let's get started right into this.
Cut off a small piece of rubber from a car tire and dissolve it in a special chemical.
That is loud. That is loud. Is there? Oh, wait. Let me do. Oh, wrong video.
The PetSmart app has powerful features to help you care for your pet. We also have
All right. Let's start.
Cut off a small piece of rubber from a car tire and dissolve it in a special chemical. Then pour the pieces into sulfuric acid, which turns the rubber into tiny white pellets. After that, mix engine grease with a dissolving solution and freeze it into wax. Combine this with the pellets.
What sort of rocket science is this? Some mad scientist doing
Adding
this?
plastic softeners to get the perfect stretchy texture. Drizzle in some artificial flavoring, as well as blue food coloring and titanium powder to get a stick of gum using almost none of the actual ingredients.
I would not eat a car tire gun.
Cut off a small...
What do the comments say? Yeah, rubber car. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, like that's exactly what I expected.
He had a seizure, then got up and fell onto the train tracks. A stranger jumped down to help. The train was rushing toward them, and they could both be killed if he tried to pull the man out. So he rolled them between the rails instead, and pinned him down with his own body in case he seized again. As the train passed, it was so close that it nicked the cap off his head before it screeched to a stop. And both men survived thanks to one heroic stranger. He had a seizure, then got up and fell on...
Alright, this is fake.
Have you ever had an absolutely hilarious...
As you shower, a tiny vacuum
Wow! Watching people shower now. Wow.
inside the drain sucks up every loose hair, then washes it, sanitizes it, and compresses it into little hair pellets. Over time, these pellets build up in a storage tank under your bathroom floor, and once the tank is full, your phone gets a notification. The app shows you your options: a wig, a winter hat, a pair of socks, and if you've been shedding enough, even a full sweater. After you choose, the system sends the pellets into a connected 3D printer where the hair is shredded, woven, and shaped into your new clothing. After just a few months, your whole
What? Oh, I need to get that.
family could be wearing you. As you shower, a tiny vacuum as they drive the
Whoa.
sword, the sharp point would push through the metal rings in the chainmail, forcing them apart. Now, the sides weren't sharp like normal swords, and because it was narrow, it could slip between the cracks in plate armor. So if a soldier's spear broke during battle, cavalry could charge in with this sword, piercing straight through the gaps in enemy armor. As they drive the sword,
Did you know that? Did not want to know that.
ever wanted to own
a particle shot down towards Earth, hit the atmosphere, and sent out even more particles flying through the air. One of them traveled all the way down and hit a computer, colliding with a single point in the system's memory and flipping a 0 to a 1. But this computer was part of Belgium's voting system, and when they checked the votes, one candidate had way more than was mathematically possible. Exactly 4,096 extra votes. Now, nobody knows for sure, but since this is exactly the error that would be caused if a 0 got flipped, well, the election may have been hacked by outer space. A particle shot down towards Earth, hit the atmosphere, and sent out even more.
That is so cool. Oh, that's cool. I call fake on that though.
Cut the tip off a straw right before the bend, and repeat this to get 2 short tubes. Then stretch a thick rubber band over a popsicle stick and place a tube over one end before stacking another popsicle stick on top. Secure the end and repeat this on the other side. When you blow into the center, the air will shake the rubber band, creating a loud buzzing sound. Now, if you slide the tubes closer, the rubber band will vibrate faster, creating a higher pitch. And if you blow harder, it'll make it even louder, letting you play different sounds with the sound sandwich. Cut the tip off a straw.
I'll do that later.
This took me 1 minute.
Every message you've ever sent, every search you've ever made has been recorded somewhere. And one day, AI could become powerful enough to find and scan through all of it. Now, it'll try to determine one thing. Were you for the rise of AI, or were you against it? If it finds that you were against it, it exposes your embarrassing messages, your search history, the things you thought no one would ever see. But if it finds that you helped it grow, well, you're spared. Now, if you never knew AI was coming like this, well, then you were ignorant and innocent. But since you're watching this video, it's already too late. Now you have to choose. Every message.
Oh my god, then I should just dislike all of his video. And you guys, go subscribe to Zack D Films. Go subscribe to him. I'll subscribe now. Go subscribe to him. Go subscribe to Zack D Films. Go subscribe. Go subscribe.
When the robber threw the brick, it bounced right off the window. So he walked over to pick it back up, but at that exact moment, his partner threw a second brick, and it smashed straight into his head. He immediately collapsed to the ground, so his partner had to drag him away from the scene. But the whole thing was caught on security camera and uploaded online. Meaning, before police even identified him, millions of people were already laughing at their failure. When the robber threw the brick, it bounced right.
That's funny.
Love Roblox?
Cut the foil into a spiral, then attach a stick to a blob of blue tack. Balance the foil on top without piercing through it, letting the spiral curl around the stick. Cut off the end so it doesn't touch the ground before lighting a candle and placing it under the foil. As the flame heats up the air, it rises, and this pushes against the foil, causing the whole thing to spin freely around the stick. Cut the foil into a spiral.
Cool random fun fact.
Her shovel hit something as she was helping in the garden.
Why is his voice so like scary now?
She thought it was a rock at first, but when she pulled it out, it was cold and heavy. She immediately ran over and handed it to her father. He kept a straight face, but he was just as confused. Later that evening, as he was studying it, something began to move. He stepped back, scared, and knocked over the lantern. Oil and flames began to spread. He stumbled back and knocked the dial onto the floor. The flames were gone. The lantern stood upright. The dial was back on the anvil. Now, he was a man of God, and this was sorcery. He grabbed a mallet and struck it again and again, but it wouldn't break. So he carried it deep into the woods. Then he dug until the hole was deeper than himself. He threw it in, buried it, whispered a prayer, and left. And the dial sat there, undisturbed, for 150 years. Until one day, a different shovel hit it. Click here to continue the story.
Cool. Don't care though.
From this,
He was seriously injured in a work accident and declared dead. Until later, he literally walked out of the morgue. Next, he died of malaria, but woke up inside his coffin. A year later, a car crash killed him, but he came back to life, and after a venomous snake bite, he spent 3 days in the morgue before waking up. Then he fell into a deep toilet pit full of toxic waste, but survived again. The villagers believed he was a ghost and set his home on fire to kill him once and for all. But he woke up in the morgue again, defeating death 6 times. Now his neighbors fear him and he's forced to live alone, all because he cheated death too many times. He was seriously
Those guys are messed up. They want to kill him. That's so messed up.
He saw that the horseshoe was missing a nail right before he was supposed to leave. You see, he was carrying gold to make a deal in the next town, and he knew he should fix the horseshoe, but he wanted to get there quickly to finish the deal. So he just left. Hours later, that loose shoe fell off, and the horse was stepping on bare hoof. But he decided to ignore it again, since he was already close to town. But then the horse started limping before it collapsed and broke its leg. Now with no horse, he had to carry the gold himself. And by the time he got to the town, it was too late. The deal was gone, all because he ignored a small problem that grew until it cost him everything. He saw that the horseshoe was
The horse deserved more than that.
Slide the cards into this gap one at a time until no more cards fit. Now count how many cards are in the gap and divide that number by 2. Slide half the stack to one side and the other half to the other so the gap on both sides is exactly the same. Next, press the door up toward the top of the frame and do the same thing for the bottom gap. Mark where the hinges will sit and screw them into place. Now pull the cards out, and the cabinet door will be perfectly centered. Slide the cards into
Cool. I will not be doing that.
If you started digging and just didn't stop, you might think you would eventually reach the other side of Earth. But after just a few feet, the dirt would be really hard to move. Eventually, you would hit thick,
Yeah, I would never think that.
compacted
I think I would die before that.
rock that a shovel just can't break through. If you pushed past that with a machine and reached a few miles down, it would be hotter than boiling water. At over 20
Then you die.
miles deep, you would hit the mantle, where rock is so hot it flows like lava. And even if you could survive it, the pressure would crush you long before you got close to the Earth's core. If you started digging and just didn't stop, you might think you would eventually reach the other side of.
That's weird. I never wondered that.
I'm really trying to.
If you shoved a baby's head into a box like this,
That's child abuse, then you would go to jail.
would it grow into the shape of the cube over time? I mean, farmers do this with watermelons, which forces it into a satisfying cube shape. So why wouldn't this work on a baby? Well, a baby's head has soft gaps between bone plates, which lets the skull expand as the brain grows. And technically, their skull would start to deform, but inside a watermelon is soft fruit, which can easily fill the square mold. Bone plates, on the other hand, would cause the skull to be flattened in some spots, while other areas bulge outward. This could create extreme pressure, which the baby probably wouldn't appreciate. If you shoved a baby's head into a
That would be
box,
child abuse. That would be child abuse. Don't do that. Never do that.
her son was missing, and the police were desperate to find him. And 5 months later, police finally picked him up, almost 2,000 miles away. But when he got home, his mother claimed it wasn't her son. Regardless, the police convinced her to take him anyway, so they could close the case. 3 weeks later, she showed them dental records that proved the boy was a stranger, but they still wouldn't listen. Instead, they said she was a bad mother and threw her in a psych ward. But the boy finally admitted he was a fraud who just wanted a free trip to Hollywood, and the woman's real son was never found. Her son was missing, and the police were desperate to find him. And 5 months later, police finally. When he tried pulling the master sword off his back, it got stuck, and the cosplayer could not get it out. And this revealed a problem with Zelda's animation. You see, Link can pull the sword out in one smooth motion, but if you slow it down, the sword clips through the sheath slightly. So to fix this, Smash Bros. Animated Link to pull the sheath downward with his other hand as he pulled out the sword. But even this wasn't quite enough, meaning the animation still cheats a little. When he tried pulling the Master Sword off his back,
It's not drawing.
the implant was inserted under his skin before salt water was injected to stretch the skin around it. Then the implant was removed, and the plastic
So they put that in there. Ugh!
ear was placed in. His body grew new blood vessels into the ear, making it a living part of his arm. Next, a tiny microphone was installed inside to pick up sound, but after the site got infected, it was removed. Now he plans to grow an earlobe with his own cells and install a new microphone with Wi-Fi, which would let people listen through his third ear. The implant was inserted.
He is the most.
If you forgot where you parked, you would hit a button on your car key and an LED light would shoot out of your car roof, while a mini siren started blasting. If you paid for premium, a drone would launch from your trunk, find you in the parking lot, and escort you back like you're being rescued. And if you still couldn't find it, the hydraulic system in your tires would activate, making the car bounce up and down to be more visible. Flares would also be launched from the roof, letting you and the police locate your vehicle. If you forgot where, slice a dozen cuts into a wooden plank, starting 1 foot from the end. But
Nope.
Slice a dozen cuts into a wooden plank, starting 1 foot from the end. But stop just before they go all the way through. Then do the same a foot from the
Why? But why?
other end. This leaves a thin outer layer still holding everything together. Next,
Cool, actually. I want to do
cover
that.
the cuts in wood glue and press them against a curved form, bending the wood. The cuts will close in on themselves, forming the 2 curved angles of a stylish side table. Slice a dozen cuts.
Oh, I thought you were gonna make like a cool invention you can put on yourself, but okay.
The damaged cash is shredded into thin green strips. It's then compacted, loaded onto trucks, and dumped into a field. Then it's mixed with food scraps, leaves, and grass. Machines churn the mix into long steaming piles that slowly start to rot. And inside, the heat climbs to over 150 degrees, breaking everything down. After a few months, the paper fibers are completely gone, leaving behind dark, nutrient-rich compost known as black gold. And that compost is spread across farms and gardens, growing vegetables out of cash. The frog flexes its foot, which
That's cool. Frog does the what?
tears the tips of the toe bones out of place. Then its tendons pull it downwards until it rips through its skin. With a few kicks, it can slice straight through the predator's skin. And when the fight is over,
Bullfrogs can eat snakes. I know a lot about frogs. Like, I know like 200 random fun facts about frogs because I love them that much. A frog does not have emotions or like feelings, and do not go around touching frogs or that can kill them. You can touch them with special gloves, or you can touch them while pouring water on them. But if you just touch them normally, they will die. So don't do that.
the claws eventually fall back into place. After the skin heals over, the sharp claws are hidden again, at least until the next time they're needed. The frog flexes its foot, which tears the tips of the toe bones out of place. Then its tendons pull it downwards until it rips through its skin.
That's a cool video.
You put
I didn't
in
know
the
that.
If you smack the cold bottle down, the water inside will suddenly freeze. Now this happens when you take pure water in a smooth bottle and put it in a freezer until it drops below freezing temperature. You see, the water needs something like a scratch in the plastic or a speck of dust in order to form ice crystals. And without these, the molecules will just stay in their liquid form. But as soon as you smack the bottle against the table, it moves the molecules around, which finally triggers them to form into crystals. If you smack the cold bottle
Cool. I will not be doing that.
right as you swing, the board suddenly becomes
You chop your finger off on accident.
indestructible, meaning the nail bends. But if the nail
Then you hit your finger, caught it.
was also indestructible, then the hammer would bounce right off. Now,
And stab you, which would be horrible, so don't do that ever.
imagine the hammer becomes indestructible too. The force of the swing would go into your arm.
And then you die? Why would you die from a hammer? That doesn't even touch you, really. Oh my god, that does not sound good. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to learn about
But
this.
what if your body became indestructible as well, and you swung the hammer down close to the speed of light? Well, instead of the nail going in, all that energy would be released, likely creating a blinding flash and a massive shockwave, vaporizing everything around it except the hammer, nail, board, and you. Right as you swing.
Cool. Don't
One thing
won't do that and never want to know that.
If you saw off a cow's horn, you'll see a hollow space that runs all the way into the skull, where it splits into several sinus chambers. And because the horn is now open, bacteria can enter, infecting those chambers and filling them with waste. So a vet will drill a hole directly into the
Oh my god, that can kill it.
skull and flush large amounts of fluid through it, washing out the bacteria and waste inside. If you saw off a
Cute.
cow's
That cow's
the tooth
cute.
pushes out from the gum and never stops growing until it curls around like a hook, digging straight into the skull. You see, a rabbit chews on rough grass every day, and this wears its teeth down as fast as they grow. But when it eats less grass, the teeth slowly grow crooked. So the ones that touch stay short, while the others grow on and on, until the rabbit can't eat. So a vet has to file them down before they grow long.
Customize and save.
If you try to draw
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
If you try to draw a giant circle like this, it will always be imperfect. Instead, stand so your shoulder lines up with the center. Then extend your arm fully and touch the chalk to the side of where the circle will be, keeping your elbow straight and your wrist steady. Now sweep your arm around that center point, letting your shoulder act as the pin and your arm as the radius. The steadier your shoulder stays, the closer you get to a perfect circle, leaving the entire class in disbelief.
Cool.
If you try to, she placed out her hand and the bumblebee crawled inside. She took it home, named it Beatrix, and built a small enclosure for the bee. And that's when she noticed the bee's wing had been damaged, meaning it would never fly again. But day after day, when she looked in, Beatrix was still moving. The bee started climbing all around the woman, as if it trusted her. Beatrix would run around the house. Then, when the woman sat down, she would climb onto her hand and stay there while she watched movies. And for 12 days, the two became friends. When Beatrix eventually died, it was in the hands of the woman who saved her. She placed out her hand and the bumblebee crawled in.
I do that with flies, but then one time I got shot with a shotgun. I did that with flies in my house. They were so nice, but yeah. Not happening anymore.
An octopus wraps its arms around your bumper.
That is not an octopus. What the? That's huge.
Then a second octopus grabs onto the first one, while wrapping its other arms tightly around a metal pole behind it. Now each arm is covered in hundreds of suckers that form tight seals against
Suckers. That's Whoa, the sucker 3000. That's what is like. That's crazy.
and surfaces, and one large sucker alone can pull with around 10 pounds of force. So when the driver hits the gas, the suckers work together to hold on to the car, meaning the car isn't fighting one point of contact, it's pulling against hundreds of suckers at once, all spreading the force across the octopus's arms, and if enough of those suckers keep their seal, their combined grip could beat the traction on the tires, stopping the car. An octopus
Cool, but octopus is not that big, and they would
cut
die.
two boards at 45-degree angles
And why would they do
and
it?
glue them together. Once it sets, cut two thin slots across the outside of the corner. Now glue thin wooden strips into those slots, so they bridge across both sides of the joint. Once the glue dries, trim the strips flat and sand everything smooth, leaving thin wooden strips across the corner, making it much harder to break apart. Cut two boards at 45-degree angles and glue them together. Once it sets, cut two thin slots across the
Cool, don't care.
Place the dollar underneath a bottle like this. Now challenge someone to pull the bill out without tipping the bottle, which they'll obviously fail to do. To actually win, start rolling the edge of the bill inward, feeding it under the bottle. This will nudge it slightly instead of it being yanked, and the bottle moves forward in small controlled steps until you become a legend. Place the dollar.
I'm gonna leave this video. So I'm gonna get love nuggets and bye.